Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the latest episode of the Sports Ballers Podcast. My name is Eric Meyer. I am joined by Corey Puffett and Evan Ash. As always, fellas, how are we feeling tonight?
Feeling a lot better than I was last week or even 2 weeks ago.
Oh my goodness. I feel fine. Not a little hungry, but otherwise good.
Standard operating procedure for
Yes.
Evan, feeling hungry.
Yes.
And Corey, glad to have you back. Rough couple weeks for you,
Oh, yeah.
dealing with illness, not being able to participate as much as you wanted to in DeMatha's games, but we're glad to have you back and glad to be back on the Sports Ballers because we've got quite a bit to get to. We are actually going to start with baseball because the World Series wrapped up on Saturday night / Sunday morning, depending on where you lived. And it was an excellent one. It was an instant classic, 7-game series. The Dodgers end up winning in the 11th inning, 5-4 in Toronto to win their second straight title. And where to start with this one because we wrote about this each and we all picked the Dodgers. I don't think any of us thought that it would go like this, where we felt like the Dodgers got kind of lucky to win this series. Like, we had the Dodgers decisively as the better team, and they didn't look it, but they got the win.
Yeah, I mean, Evan a little bit more so than the two of us. Evan picked the Dodgers in 5 games. We both gave the Blue Jays 2 games. And I generally don't pick 7-game series because at that point I'm basically just saying a toss-up. And, like, I want to kind of say it with my chest, the team that I think is the better one in the series. And in this case, I thought it was the Dodgers. So I gave it to them in 6. But this did feel like a series that could go to 7. The Blue Jays have been an excellent offense all season, and if anything, they only played better in the playoffs, which is hard to do with the level of play that they were achieving in the regular season. But yeah, in a lot of ways, it felt like the Blue Jays kind of had their number in this series, and for the Dodgers to be able to come away with a win, I mean that was a fun series.
I feel like the Dodgers kind of read the paragraph that I wrote, and they're like, yeah, we got this in the bag. We don't need to, absolutely bring it against another Major League Baseball team. It was, Game 7 specifically was an incredible sports enjoyment experience, I guess. Wow, Shohei Ohtani wasn't as inevitable as I thought he was going to be, but the non-MVPs on that Dodgers team, the randos, if you will, some of them stepped up.
Well, Shohei Ohtani's not really been a consistent postseason performer in his career. We know what he did, obviously, the Shohei game. We talked about that a couple weeks ago when the Dodgers punched their ticket to the World Series.
What did he do for the Angels in the playoffs?
Well, nothing with the Angels, obviously. But prior to that point, as a particularly salty Yankee Barstool employee, fan, whatever you want to call him, pointed out Shohei was only batting like 130 in the postseason to that point, at which point he was trying to undermine the great performance. I'm like, dude, just shut up. But still, there is something there where Shohei has not always been just a dominant force every single playoff series, but the Dodgers have enough guys where if you get a step-up factor from anybody, they're going to be in every series. But the Blue Jays just kept coming. We know what they had with Vladdy Jr., dominated all rounds of the postseason. The return of Bo Bichette was hugely impactful, especially in Game 7, hitting a 3-run dinger. It was just outstanding baseball across the board. It was great for the sport. The ratings were through the roof, as you might expect for a team that has the Dodgers in it as a big market team and with an international superstar like Shohei Ohtani. But I think it also had a draw just because the level of play and the drama associated with it was so high. I mean, you get to a Game 7 where we already had an 18-inning classic in Game 3.
Right.
That's normally the defining game of the series when you have one game go 18 innings. The team that wins that typically we're like, okay, well, that's going to be like what we remember about this series. No, we remember Game 6 and 7 probably more so than that Game 3.
Yeah, I mean, there were a number of fun moments in the series. I mean, in Game 1, Addison Barger hit the first ever pinch hit grand slam in World Series history. You had Ernie Clement break the record for hits in a single postseason. He had 30 hits in the playoffs this year. Like,
Jeez.
Obviously that requires your team to play a lot of long series to give you more opportunities at the dish, but still to rack up 30 hits in a playoff in one postseason is crazy. The Dodgers were the first team to trail in the 9th inning of a Game 7 and ultimately win the series. The Blue Jays came so close to winning it there at the
inches.
end. Literally inches. Literally a second toe tap by the catcher on the plate because his foot came off the plate and somehow got back down before the runner came in to score the game-winning run. Like, you said it yourself, Eric. Instant classic.
And there was some controversy with your former boy, Isaiah Kiner-Falefa, who was the base runner on that play. And I've kind of softened my stance on this a little bit just because some former players have chimed in and said, hey, this is how we're coached to handle that situation. But at that point, so now my ire turns to the coaches. Why didn't you understand the situation? So to sort of break down what I'm talking about, the bases were loaded in the bottom of the 9th inning. Yep. The Blue Jays had just blown the lead because Jeff Hoffman, who is an asshole, and I hate him, and I'm so glad that he's a loser for this, blowing kisses at the Orioles because he couldn't get through a physical. Like, somehow that's the Orioles' fault, but that's neither here nor there. Yeah, he choked away the World Series, but okay. But anyway, IKF. I'm calling him IKF. His name's a mouthful, but he comes into pinch run for Bo Bichette, which I've discussed as another side. I'm so sick of people doing that too. But he comes into pinch run. He ends up getting all the way to third base. It's bases loaded with one out, and Dalton Varsho's at the plate, left-handed pull hitter. And IKF refuses to get anything resembling a decent lead off of third base. He's basically a half a stride off the bag when Max Muncy was like 12 feet away from third base. The rule of thumb is typically the runner on third needs to be as far away from the bag as the third baseman is to cover your tracks. And he was playing it so conservatively. And again, the people like Justin Turner came on and said, hey, when it's a force out situation at the plate, we're not gunning for the run at home. We're making sure we don't get doubled off. We make sure we don't get backpicked. Okay, but Dalton Varsho never lines out to third base. Like, he's literally done it one time in his entire career, and he's had 2,500 plate appearances. There's no chance of him doing that, okay? And also, you're not going to get backpicked when you're the World Series. You are the World Series standing on third base. Will Smith is in no way, shape, or form going to throw behind you in that situation and risk chucking the World Series in the left field or into the stands. He's not going to do it.
Even so, let's say, okay, so you don't take a lead that is as far off the bag as the third baseman is off the bag. Get half the distance. He wasn't even getting that.
One more stride and they're champions.
Yeah.
If he gets one more stride off the base.
Like, if you're one more stride off the base than you were, if you're half the distance away from the bag as the third baseman is, on a line out, you can still get back. Like, if the line out is right over third base, the third baseman's not getting to it. And a line out, like, in between the third baseman and the bag that brings the third baseman back, you're going to see it's not on the ground. I need to take a step back. I need to pause. I need to freeze something so I can get back. Like, you're not risking getting doubled off the bag by taking another stride.
Yeah, and also, you put this guy in for base running.
You have one job.
You compromised your lineup in the future of this game in order to try to win now, and then you had the most risk-averse approach with that base runner. The entire point of putting him in the game is so that you could take a little bit more risk.
And you're not losing here. You're tied. Like, you're not playing to tie the game and extend it. You're playing to win it here. Later. You're playing to win the game.
Mm-hmm.
Sure enough, IKF's spot came up after Vladimir Guerrero Jr. hits a leadoff double in the 11th inning, and because IKF can't hit, manager John Schneider decided to have him bunt. And we've talked about bunts and how they're dumb.
Yes.
And he successfully does get the sacrifice bunt. So, right, he gets the bunt down. So, operation successful, patient died. That's what happened here. So, you sat there, you got the bunt down, and then nobody actually drove the run in.
Yeah.
Right? Because the next guy walks, and then Alejandro Kirk grounds into a routine ground ball double play to end the game. Mm-hmm. And that's the end of it. So
you bunt in that situation when the game is tied.
Yes.
Right? But when you're down a run in extra innings, you need to score 2 runs to win.
Yeah. And they threw that opportunity away on that one. So
intentional.
Questionable managing there. And honestly, if I'm a Blue Jays fan, I don't think I could get out of bed for 2 weeks.
Oh, like
if I watch the Orioles,
Tammy or somebody from Paul Feinbaum's show.
Like if I watch the Orioles lose a series like this, like I can't imagine a sports loss worse than your favorite baseball team who you watch for 6
Every
months
night.
straight every night.
For decades.
Yeah, and then they go in there and they have chance after chance to win the World Series. And again,
At home.
And we're not talking about a team that just, okay, well, they'll be back next year. The Blue Jays haven't won a World Series in 32 years. You know, there are a handful of teams with longer droughts, including our Baltimore Orioles, but that's a long time. Any fan 35 or under didn't really get to see their team win the World Series because they were either way too young to really understand it or they weren't born yet.
Yeah, I mean, I was less than a year old.
Yeah. Do you even remember like the '96 World Series, Corey? Because you were 4.
No.
Yeah,
Like,
exactly.
6 World Series.
In
Yeah.
other words, like the first Yankees World
Yeah,
Series of my
the team
lifetime.
one,
Yeah. Like, no. Like, I don't remember that. I
don't remember
slightly
Washington
remember
winning
the
the Super Bowl?
I slightly remember the 98 series. I remember 99 and 2000.
Yeah. Yeah, that tracks because like that's typically you're like 6 or 7 when you first really get locked in.
Yeah. So, you know,
Corey. See, and, this is why I'm glad you weren't on
You
the
need to go
broadcast.
face the corner of the room for 10 minutes.
Since this is an
This is
audio,
what happens when you're a high school teacher. and you're
No, it's
around
not.
kids.
this is an audio medium. Corey did the 6-7 reference when I said you get locked in at 6 or 7.
Put $1 in the jar.
But no, this was the first 7-game World Series since 2019 when the Nats won. That was the 4th in 6 years. Then we went 5 years without one until this. This was also the first repeat World Series winner since
You're
the
Yankee.
2000
yeah,
Yankees.
since the Yankees. Yeah, 99 2000. So, like, congratulations to the Dodgers. I'm happy they won. I have no love for the Blue Jays.
Neither do we.
Yeah, good for them.
I was kind of rooting for the Dodgers in the sense that it'll help build the narrative that the Dodgers spent all this money and they keep winning, and whether or not it's true, it makes it seem like the teams that spend more money win more games, and the sport of baseball is barreling towards a lockout or strike situation after next season. And hopefully they can get some sort of salary floor, salary cap type thing going on that all the other sports have.
Yeah, we'll see if that comes to fruition. Before we move on to football, we do have to talk about Yoshi Yamamoto's World Series performance, rightfully named World Series MVP. This
3-0.
Yeah, people compared this to Madison Bumgarner in 2014, and it's not off base, which is insane to say because
That was insane.
Madison Bumgarner
yeah.
2014 was the greatest World Series performance I think I've seen from a single player.
Yeah, and okay, so there's some context here. Bumgarner pitched a lot more innings in that World Series. He pitched a lot more innings in that postseason. Madison Bumgarner pitched 52 2/3 innings in the
It was
2014
insane.
run. It's the greatest postseason run in all of sports, across sports. But Yamamoto, he gave up 2 runs instead of 1 compared to Bumgarner. He's facing a significantly better offensive team. So there is some credit for that. And his Game 7 relief appearance, he didn't pitch 5 innings like Bumgarner did, but he came in on no day's rest. Like, he pitched Game 6 and then literally came into the game the next day to pitch.
and he
in
pitched
Game 7.
3 innings.
Yeah, 2 2/3 innings to seal the win, and he got the win, as you mentioned, Corey. So he was incredible. All-time performance from him. And again, another guy that the Dodgers spent a whole bunch of money to get, and it was worth it. So, I don't know what's going to happen in 2027, but what I do know is that baseball has some momentum right now. There is some juice with this sport, and part of it is because Shohei Ohtani is a legend and an international superstar, but also the product has gotten significantly better and more interesting.
With the pitch clock.
The
And
pitch clock is a huge addition.
no
Like,
shifts.
we ride Rob Manfred all the time for being a bum commissioner, but he's got a couple of feathers in his cap here with sort of bringing the game into the 21st century that I think he deserves some credit for, and I think it's paying, it's bearing fruit right now.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Pitch clock makes a huge difference. I'm looking forward to having the challenge system next year with the ABS,
Yes.
and I think that's just like the first step toward making balls and strikes fully automated. I don't think that the challenge system is going to be here to stay, but I think it's going to step toward automation fully rather than, it's going to be here for a year or two and then we're going to go back to just using umpires. Because once we have that, I don't think there's going to be any going back. And then, Eric, you referenced 2027 for the people at home who aren't aware. The current collective bargaining agreement is set to expire after 2026. So there's the risk of a lockout. We don't know what's going to happen as far as the negotiating process. There's still a lot of time, but we've seen major sports leagues have a lot of difficulty in striking deals between the ownership and the players,
including Major League Baseball in 2020 when,
Yep.
Instead of spending all summer arguing over, health protocols and whatnot during the pandemic, they were arguing over money. That the season could have started earlier in 2020, but they were arguing over how each side was going to lose money.
Yeah, and one of the big things that's on the docket for this next CBA is a salary cap. The owners want it, the players don't. I think the fans, for the most part, want it if it's implemented correctly. I think that the NFL does it better than any other league by far, as far as the revenue sharing and having a salary cap and having some level of competitive balance financially across the league. That has allowed the NFL to have more parity than any other sports league. And I think that, the NBA is probably second best, but a distant second when it comes to that. And Major League Baseball has been terrible. Like, something has to happen on that front.
Well, I will note this. Major League Baseball has seen 16 different champions in the last 25 years. That is a higher percentage than the NFL. It's a higher percentage than the NBA. Now,
and the Orioles still can't win.
That's also true. So, but that's probably more so the nature of playoff baseball being random than anything having to do with. And I think we agree. It's not even so much about getting more people to win. It's more about giving fans some reason to hope their team can and will actually do something to improve their rosters. The big issue, again, I don't give a damn about the salary cap. The salary floor is what matters.
The floor.
It's getting these owners,
I agree.
these cheap asses, to actually spend money and invest in their team.
Well,
especially when they're getting charity from the teams that are actually making money. It's like, hey, you get a bunch of free money and you commit none of that to your roster. That doesn't make any sense.
Well, yeah, because like the small market teams, there's revenue sharing between the owners that goes to the small market teams, and the small market owners, like the A's owner and the Pirates owner, just put that in their pocket and keep it rolling.
Bob Nutting.
Yes.
I just had to say Bob Nutting. A real person and just a terrible owner.
So for me, for this Game 7, I listened to most of it on the radio when I was driving from rural Tennessee to rural Virginia for 4 hours on Saturday night. And I had to get up early on Sunday morning, but we had to go to extras. And I'm like, I'm tired. I need to go to bed. But what saved me is going back to standard time. An extra hour just appeared out of thin air, and it was great.
I figured when you told me you were doing that road trip, I was like, it's a good thing Evan's getting some fall back here.
I had no idea.
Life.
I thought it was next week.
I hate standard time with a passion.
No, I do too. But
Me too. But
that free hour, that's
needed that.
You get that up front, and then you hate the rest of it. It sucks. All right, so let's move on to football. We spent quite a bit of time on baseball, so I did mention at the intro of the show that I wanted to take this week to sort of lock in on. We are at the mid-season point. One of the few benefits of actually having an odd number of games is we have an even number of weeks because everybody gets a bye week, so we do actually have a legitimate halfway point for the regular season, and that's right now since Week 9 just happened, and we are heading to Week 10. So I kind of want to go division by division. We can obviously blow through several of the cross-off type of teams, but let's start in the AFC. Let's start in the AFC East. Obviously, the Jets, the Dolphins are toast. We don't need to acknowledge them. But at the top of the division, the Patriots and Bills are duking it out for this division. The Bills have won this division, I believe, 5 years in a row.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And the Patriots before that won for 2 decades in a row, it seems. So
Except for the one
like
Dolphins
every year
championship
except
when
in
Tom
08.
Brady got hurt, basically.
Yeah, exactly, yeah. Evan, did you have something there?
I mean, the Patriots won that division every year except Tom Brady. Tom Brady's injury.
That year.
Yep.
So,
What was that? 08?
08? Yeah.
yeah. So the Patriots are 7-2. They're coming off a win against the Falcons. They've got a pretty cushy schedule the rest of the way. The Bills, sort of similar fashion. These two teams do meet up in, I don't remember which week they meet up, but the game will be in Foxborough. So I personally feel like that's going to decide who wins this division, because I just don't see enough losses on either team's schedule for either of them to fall out. Like, they're going to keep winning, and whoever wins that game straight up probably is going to end up being the AFC champion.
Yeah, I mean, the Patriots already got one on the Bills in Buffalo back at the beginning of October. And, as you mentioned, the Patriots have a cushy schedule. I think they had the easiest schedule up to this point in the NFL, and they have like the second easiest schedule the rest of the way. Crazy how that worked out for them. They're I don't think that they are in any way a better team than the Bills, but because of the scheduling, it's a huge benefit to them. I mean, they barely got away with a win against the Falcons this week. Like, they got lucky there. But overall, they've played pretty well this season. Drake May looks legitimate. Their receiving core seems to be both very average and yet also deep enough that, like, any given week, anybody can go off. We've seen Stephon Diggs have his huge game of the season. We've seen Booty have a great game or two. We've seen DeMario Douglas this week had a huge game. We've seen Hunter Henry step up and make a big difference. The one area that they're struggling with on offense is figuring out what to do in the run game, because you've got Antonio Gibson, who isn't that good, but for some reason keeps getting a lot of touches. You've got Ramondre Stevenson, who they insist on starting every week when he's healthy, and yet he's a fumble machine.
All the time.
You've got Travion Henderson, who they're doing everything possible to keep the ball out of his hands for who knows what reason. Like,
Ramondre's going to fumble it.
During the preseason, Henderson was like getting all the buzz.
He
Everybody's
was
like,
the
"Oh
rave,
my
yeah.
God, he's the lightning in this offense to Stevenson's thunder," and like, they can't seem to get him to do anything so far this year. So that needs to be figured out. And then on defense, they've been not great, but very solid. I mean, they've been a pretty good defense, and I think a big part of that is the coaching. I mean, you bring in Mike Vrabel, that's the side of the ball he focuses
having a
on.
competent coach, that makes a difference.
Yes, it does.
Yeah, the Patriots' run defense is outstanding. I think with Christian Gonzalez being out the early part of the year, their pass defense kind of lagged behind. But with his return, that makes a big difference, although he's gotten banged up the last couple of weeks. Something I will say about the Patriots, they've had an easy schedule, but they have not had an easy defensive schedule in terms of the defenses they played. Like, it's easy to look at it and say, oh, well, you beat up on Cleveland and Atlanta. Those are two of the 5 best pass defenses in football, and Drake May has played somewhere between pretty good to excellently against pretty much everybody on their slate. So
Yeah, but you think about some of the other defenses they face, and they faced the Raiders, who are not a good defense, and they lost that game. They faced the Steelers, who are a solid defense, to be fair, but they played the Dolphins, not a good defense. The Panthers, not a good defense. No. The Saints, not a good defense. The Titans, not a good defense.
Okay.
So they've had a mix.
But still, even when they played a good defense, they put up good offensive numbers. So I think that
I'm excited to see what they do this week against the Buccaneers in Tampa Bay.
Yeah, that's a big game. So and then as for the Bills are coming off of a, it's hard to call it a must win when you were 5-2, but it felt like they needed that game against the Chiefs.
Yeah, but at the same time, this was Josh Allen's 5th straight regular season win against the Chiefs. The Chiefs don't beat them in the regular season, and then they own them in the playoffs.
Yes.
So that's the game that I care about. I could not care less about the outcome of this last game.
This the only thing this decided was maybe where that playoff game might be played.
Yeah.
Right, because if the Bills win the division, they're going to have a better record than the Chiefs almost certainly. And the Chiefs in their own right are kind of in a little bit of a battle for the division. We'll get to that in a little bit, but
I've enjoyed seeing Dalton Kincaid kind of reemerge in that offense. He's been playing really well of late, and then also James Cook has had an excellent year. Last year, the talk, coming out of the season, the talk was it was unsustainable. He had so many touchdowns compared to the number of touches that he had. There was no way he's going to repeat that. Well, this year, he's gotten a little bit of an uptick in touches, and he's shown that he can handle it, and he's been very successful running the ball, and he's still scoring at a pretty good clip.
And this is Josh Allen's first good game in a month, too. Like, he has not played well, but he played well when it mattered against, in the big stage against Patrick Mahomes. So, And Patrick Mahomes had probably the worst game in the regular season, at least, of his career. He really struggled. 44% completion percentage in this one.
Yikes.
No touchdowns on the ground or through the air and through a pick. Like, he was really struggling in this game.
Yep. And we got to see Chiefs fans get upset at Josh Allen for something that we see Patrick Mahomes try to do all the time, which is
flopping.
Allen is also a notorious flopper.
He is. Like, he gets away with it to an extent.
Yeah, he absolutely does. So he's not free of criticism.
But at least he doesn't fake stay in bounds and then step out of bounds.
I've never seen him do that, or Mahomes doing the opposite and lowering his shoulder into a defender because the defender pulled up. But let's move on to Evan's division, the AFC North, and I think again, Cleveland is done. Like they're 2-6, they're hosed.
Yeah.
Cincinnati is done. They just blew 2 straight weeks. They lost to the Bears and the Jets. You can't lose to the Bears and the Jets and be 3-6. With no Joe Burrow, who apparently doesn't matter because Joe Flacco is lighting the world on fire.
And real Joe Cool.
Yes, exactly.
And none of that matters because the Bengals can't stop anybody. They're 3-6. They have no defense. I'm writing them off. I think they're toast.
That's probably fair. I mean, they're still an exciting team to an extent, but
because they're always going to be in every game.
It's a Big 12 game every week.
But they're not winning them, and so I that's fair.
So that leaves Baltimore, who is 3-5 now. And the Steelers,
second place.
Yes, the Steelers, who are 5-3 at this point.
Yes,
and they looked like they were in deep trouble because they got smoked by the Packers at home, and we're like, oh, here we go, Jim. And then they get the Colts, who are red hot and the talk of the NFL. And what do you know? The Colts magic runs out as soon as they get to Heinz Field. Six turnovers. For the Indianapolis Colts against the Steelers defense, who couldn't stop anybody pretty much all year until this one.
Every week, it's one team or another that just hands a game to the Steelers. The Jets did it. The Patriots did it. The Vikings did it. And now the Colts did it. Who was the other? It was Cleveland, and they played Cleveland.
The Browns, yes. The Dylan Gabriel's, I think that was his first start in that.
Yeah. So, this is ridiculous at this point. Somebody just go to Pittsburgh and remember to play football just a little bit.
So the Steelers, I would have called them toast in this division had they lost to the Colts. I would have said they would be one game behind or ahead of the Ravens. The Ravens' schedule is very light going forward, and the Steelers have some really tough games coming up. I still think, honestly, Baltimore should be favored to win this division. They're 2 games back. They control their own fate because they play the Steelers twice. And they've got Lamar healthy. Their defense has actually looked like a defense.
Yeah, it's looked good the last 2 or 3 weeks.
It looked good even before the bye against the Rams.
Right. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. The last 2 or 3 games.
So,
they lost that game to the Rams, but that was because of the offense. They only gave up 17 points to a very good offense.
Cooper Rush was going on.
The MVP right now. And, he's been great. So, but anyway, the Ravens finally smartened up and got rid of Cooper Rush as the starting quarterback while Lamar was out, started Snoop Huntley, and they won a game. And thank goodness for it, because had they lost to the Bears, given all the hubbub about Lamar Jackson's injury status that came up, I'm pretty sure M&T Bank would be a sinkhole right now. Just the entire thing would be pulled into hell based off of all this crap. Lamar's not healthy. The team says he's healthy and practiced on a Friday.
Am I the only one who thinks the Ravens should be fined draft picks at this point? Because they're a repeat offender. They do this all the time.
I agree with you. Yeah. Okay, it's been nonstop shenanigans out of Harbaugh with the injuries for at least 10 years at this point.
$100,000 is weak sauce.
Oh yeah. That's Steve Bisciotti sneezed and $100,000 disappeared.
That's not stopping anybody in the NFL.
That's straight cash homie right there.
Yeah, nobody's passing a collection plate around for Steve Bisciotti and his $100,000.
Yeah. So again, another big concern from that for me was Lamar and the Ravens organization seemingly not being on the same page with what's his status. And again, if that had, because if they lose to the Bears, their season's dead.
Yeah.
Like, they're done. And if it was because Lamar didn't go and the team said he should have gone, you're now creating a potential rift between Lamar Jackson and the fans. And that is not something you can do as an organization.
No.
Is alienate your franchise quarterback from the people that buy the tickets.
M&T
the
Bank,
jerseys.
M&T Bank Stadium should be glad the nickname Factory of Sadness is already taken. Because, it had a home loss to the Bears, again. Like you said, the season's over, and there's a lot of people getting fired, and the whole house of cards is going to fall apart at that point.
So shout out to Nate Wiggins as well for making the huge interception.
Yes.
To flip that game.
Yes.
Because it was a little touch and go there. So the Steelers' schedule remaining, they play at the Chargers this week. The Chargers are in a little bit of trouble. Joe Alt's out for the year.
Oh, jeez.
So that's a problem. And then they play the Bengals at home. We just saw the Bengals somehow beat them a few weeks ago. Then they go to Chicago. That's not an easy game. I'm not going to say that that's just like they're going to waltz in there and win that one. Then they have Buffalo. Then they play at Baltimore. They got Miami, who sucks. And they've got at your Lions, Corey. And then they've got the Ravens again. So they do have some tough games in there.
At the Lions in the second to last week? Oh, boy.
I don't know if it was the second to last week.
I think it is.
Okay, but it's later in the season, yeah. And then they play the Ravens in week 18. I think that there's a decent chance that if the Ravens do what they're supposed to do, which they
third to last week.
They often don't do that. The Ravens could maybe have that division under control going into that game at Heinz Field or Acrisure Stadium, whatever the hell they call it nowadays.
Sure.
But knowing the Ravens, it's probably going to be for the division in that game. So
Yep, could be Sunday Night Football.
And honestly, for the playoffs as well. Because, there's more good teams than
it's hard to imagine
I
at this
expected.
point in the season that there's going to be two teams coming out of the AFC North.
Yeah.
yeah, especially because you look at some of
The
these other
Colts
divisions.
have won games
Yeah,
for some reason.
I mean, you're probably going to get 2 out of the East and 3 out of the West.
Yeah.
there's a very good chance that happens. Yeah. So let's talk about the South real quick. Tennessee, obviously a cross-off. We don't need to talk about them. The Houston Texans, I think they're done. Like they're 3-5.
Something happened to C.J. Stroud.
Yeah,
Stroud
I think it
concussed.
depends on how long C.J. Stroud is out with that concussion. He could play this week, but he also could miss the week. It really just depends on what happens with the protocol.
They're 3-5. They're playing Jacksonville this week. If he's out, there's a good chance Jacksonville wins that game. Jacksonville already beat the Houston Texans once this year. That would put them 3 games behind the Jags, which is not
a
where
good
you
place
want
to be.
Yeah, so they're still alive, but only just. So I'll give you that, but I think they're in deep doo-doo here. Like I really do.
I think so much in that division also depends on how the Colts respond to getting punched in the mouth this past week. And it's not even just being punched in the mouth; it was punching themselves in the mouth, really. Mm-hmm. I mean, that was a loss of their own devices. Like that was Daniel Jones. He lost like 3 or 4 fumbles in that game. Mm-hmm. On top of he threw an interception.
Of course he did.
Yeah.
Like he played horrible. Yeah. Whatever deal he made with the devil apparently was not forever.
Expired.
Yes.
It was counterbalanced by whatever deal Mike Tomlin made to guarantee a 500 or better season. So,
but the Colts are still a very talented team around him. Their defense has been very good. Kenny Moore is great. Nick Cross has had a fantastic season. A lot of other players on the defense have looked really good. Jonathan Taylor had a down week this week, but he has been phenomenal. He's an MVP frontrunner in my opinion. Josh Downs had a great week. Michael Pittman has been consistent this year, which is something we haven't been able to say for 2 or 3 seasons.
Your boy.
Tyler Warren has been excellent. Like he's this year's rookie phenom at tight end. He could end up being the top tight end by the end of the year for all we know. Like he's in that conversation. He's been that good. So, I don't see this slipping out of the Colts' hands, but so much is going to depend on what did this last week do to their psyche, because that's a team that feels like it's kind of running off of vibes in a lot of ways.
I mean, I think they're running off vibes, but they're also running off of Shane Steichen's been great. and I don't think he's going to lose focus because of a bad road loss. And the team in between the Texans and the Colts right now is the Jags, who I mentioned are 5-3. They're coming off of just a silly victory against the Raiders, where they won 30-29 in overtime against Vegas, where Vegas had a chance to score and win the game with a 2-point conversion, and they decided not to throw it to Brock Bowers for some reason, even though Bowers was dominating, and it didn't work out for them, and so the Jags ended up sneaking away with the win.
Yeah. I don't know what to make of the Jaguars.
They're currently in the playoffs.
Their defense has been pretty decent, but I don't know how their offense is having any success. Travis Etienne has been pretty good this year. It's been nice to see him back to playing very well. Not quite what he was 2 or 3 years ago, but still very good football from him this year. Travis Hunter's all hurt. Brian Thomas has not been that effective this year.
Trevor Lawrence
is still Trevor Lawrence.
That's a big part of the reason why all these dudes are not so effective, is because Trevor Lawrence is not that good.
So I don't know what to make of that team right now. 5-3 just feels like fake news.
Yeah,
I don't think that they're going to sustain that.
I'm circling them as like the obvious team to fall out of the playoff chase. Like I don't see that lasting for them.
I don't believe in any of the teams in the AFC South.
I believe in the Colts in the context of they're going to win the division.
I believed in the Colts before this past week. I'm not ready to say that I disbelieve in them at this point, but this past week was pretty bad.
It was a rough week.
That was ugly.
But you are entitled to a clunker now and then.
Sure.
Right?
Absolutely. As long as you bounce back from it, you have to be resilient, and if you can't show that, at that point, I'm not going to believe in you anymore.
Yeah. So we'll see what the Colts do, but like I said, I think they're clear favorites to still win that division, and they're could end up with a pretty high seed because they still got the best record in the AFC.
I still think they're going to be the 4th seed playing the Shakey's game, but we'll see.
I mean, yeah, we will see, and they might be playing the Chiefs, so that will be quite something.
Wow.
Yeah. All right, so let's move to the AFC West, where we do have some really good teams, and then the Raiders. So we can ditch the Raiders; they're trash. The Denver Broncos lead the division at 7-2, coming off of another close win, late comeback victory or comeback-ish. Right, it was 15-15 for much of the fourth quarter. Eventually, they kick a game-winning field goal, and they move to 7-2. Meanwhile, the Chargers are 6-3 after they had a bit of a slow start, to say the least, against the Tennessee Titans, as Justin Herbert throws a pick six and scares the hell out of me right out of the gate in fantasy. But no harm done. Still put up 174 points, so I'll take
174.
Could have had 180 without the pick six. Thanks,
Oh.
Thanks, Justin.
Wow.
Tell Madison I said hi. But anyway, so they're kind of in a weird spot, though, because their division is tough and their offensive line is still beat up. Joe Alt ruled out
is
for
getting
gone,
worse.
and that's after they lost
Rashawn
Slater's been
Slater.
out the whole
Slater
season,
in the preseason. So like they're definitely in a rough spot, but their offense has just been really good this year.
Justin Herbert's been fantastic.
Lad McConkey is awesome. Keenan Allen has played very well coming back to
I
LA.
thought Keenan Allen was like a sort of coach on the field type of acquisition. You know, like he's the old guy just who's around and plays sometimes.
He very well may be that, in addition to still being a pretty effective receiver.
I didn't think he'd be this productive.
Yeah, we thought he was old. Turns out he was just a bear.
Yeah.
So
He's just
It's
on the
not
Bears.
like he was terrible last year either. Like a lot of his lack of production was Caleb Williams.
he was
being
on
bad.
the Bears.
Yeah,
yes.
he was on the Bears. Exactly.
So that'll happen to a guy, right? You go to the Bears and suddenly you're like, wow, this guy sucks.
Brendan
now.
Marshall.
And Brandon Marshall was actually good with the Bears, though. So anyway, the Chargers. I don't know. They worry me with their offensive line, but I think
both their tackles are out. Like I don't know how you can still expect to win if both tackles are hurt and not walking through that door.
yeah. So but they're still plugging away, and we'll see what they're able to do down the stretch. Meanwhile, Kansas City 5-4, slow start to their season. Looked like they were starting to pick it up. Patrick Mahomes was MVP favorite, and then they go to Buffalo, and, well, it doesn't really work out. I still think this is a really good Chiefs team. Like, I haven't lost faith in their ability to be a dangerous team in the playoffs, but they're getting to a point where you only get so many losses before you're allowed to make the playoffs, and they're 5-4 currently on the outside looking in. They've got to play Denver twice. Denver's a tough team with a really good defense. They've got to play the Chargers again. The Chargers are pretty good. They've got to play the Colts. We don't know if the Colts are for real or not, but we'll find out, I guess, when they play them. And then they also still have the Texans, who are not good, but they at least play really good defense. There are some losable games on their schedule, and they can really only afford to lose, I think, 2 more before they're in serious danger of not making the playoffs.
I'm not, at this point, as good as Denver has been, as much as they should probably be the favorite to win this division, I'm not ready to pick against the Chiefs because you've still got Patrick Mahomes, who has been very good overall this season, and they get 18 players on the field versus the other team's 11 every week. Mm-hmm. That's a pretty big advantage.
Solid advantage. I'm not confident that the Broncos hold on to this either, but it feels like the Chiefs have no margin for error.
No, they don't. That's the thing, though. With being down 2 games in that division, with 2 games against the Broncos left to play, it's there for them to take, but they have to take it. They have to be pretty much perfect on out.
I mean, yeah, I agree. It's starting to get late early around there.
Yeah, we're at the midway point, so I'm not sure how early it is anymore. But let's hop over to the NFC real quick. And by real quick, I mean the NFC East. Not a whole lot to talk about here. Giants are done.
Yep.
The Commodes were done before Daniel's elbow was pointing the wrong way or whatever.
Goodness gracious.
Brutal. And the Cowboys
Thanks,
are done.
Dan Quinn.
How did the Cowboys lose at home to the Cardinals? I fell asleep.
I went to bed on the game, too. I didn't care.
Yeah,
I
they lost to
not at all.
Jacoby Brissett, who was very good in that game. The Cowboys' defense is a sieve, and that's putting it mildly.
A sieve does stop some
now,
stuff.
They're the make-a-wish
Cowboys-
team of the league.
The
talked about
Cowboys
this.
did make a couple of trades. They traded for a linebacker from the Bengals, whose name I don't remember because I don't think that he's actually that
A
good.
linebacker on the Bengals?
Right.
Who cares?
Exactly. And then they traded for Quinnen Williams, which is actually a pretty good
Yeah, he's
acquisition.
incredible.
He's a good player. But, like,
not fixing
that's
them.
not by a long shot. This team is bad. Dak Prescott can keep them in games when he plays well. He did not play well enough to do that this past week. But, they're a fun offense. That's it.
So much
Javonte
fun.
Williams has been
Got you all
good.
choked up.
CeeDee Lamb is good when he's healthy. George Pickens has been great this year. Ferguson has been pretty good this year.
Grassed the ball last
But
night.
he grasped the ball. But that's all the Cowboys have going for them, and their defense is so bad that the offense not only has to be great, it has to be perfect for them to win a game.
Yeah, not good for the Cowboys.
I would bet that they're going to win fewer than 3 games the rest of the way of this season.
that wouldn't. I'm inclined to agree.
Who are the Cowboys playing on Thanksgiving? What are we going to be
I
subjected
think they're
to?
playing the Chiefs.
Really?
Yeah, I think they're playing the Chiefs.
Oh,
Yep.
jeez. Oh, it's
Well,
Ravens play the Bengals on Thanksgiving.
yeah. That's here.
it's going to be a light show. All right, so Eagles are going to win the division. We're good.
Yeah.
And
Yes.
Everybody else is toast.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
over.
Yeah, that's how I feel. All right, let's move to the NFC North. I think this one's a doozy because Packers 5-2-1 coming off of a loss to the upstarts
Panthers-
Carolina Panthers, who
Their
are 5-4.
2 losses this year have been absolutely ridiculous. The Browns and the Panthers in low-scoring games that had absolutely no business being close.
I'm still just it has to be the worst play of the year. The Jordan Love heave it right to a defender who somehow doesn't catch it.
Yes.
I think that was the worst pass I've seen in my life from an NFL quarterback.
That might be the worst pass I've ever seen of any projectile
The way
on the
he
earth.
throws it, the camera
What are you doing?
pans, and there's one player in the frame, and it's
It's
not a guy on his team.
He's not wearing your uniform, dude.
Their dumbass faux leather helmet
God.
Those look
uniforms.
so bad.
The Packers need to
You may as
put
well
those.
just wear actual leather helmets at
Yeah,
that point.
they need to put those uniforms back in the dumpster where they got them from. 'Cause that was
But
atrocious.
yeah, that was terrible, but the Packers are still a good team.
Yeah. The two real head scratcher losses for them. The worst throw of a projectile I've ever seen, I have to say, was Tyler Shuck's pro day throw or combine throw.
I didn't see that.
You mentioned it to me and made fun of me when the Saints picked him.
Because I heard about it, I didn't see it.
Well, it was really bad.
Well, I care more about what they've done in an NFL uniform.
Actually playing football
in
games,
an NFL game. Yeah. But anyway.
So your Lions are 5-3.
Yep.
Coming off of a tough loss against the Vikings.
Yeah, I'm not too worried about this one. It sucks. We played pretty poorly, but Brian Flores is an excellent defensive coordinator. We've had some difficulties against that Vikings defense since he's been on the staff there.
Yeah.
So we've tended to figure it out after that, the first game that we play against them. So I think that we'll do better when we play the Vikings again later in the year. But hats off to Brian Flores. He coached a hell of a game, and we couldn't get out of our own ways.
Yeah, he does that to people. J.J. McCarthy getting his second win of the season after a somewhat controversial absence, where they basically sacrificed life and limb of Carson Wentz just to keep what appeared to be a fully healthy J.J. McCarthy off the field.
He not only was he fully healthy, he wasn't even the backup quarterback in that game. He was the emergency quarterback.
Yeah. He was the third stringer, yeah.
Who was the
Some
back?
guy named, I forgot his name. He didn't
Yeah,
matter,
I don't remember
but-
either.
Some guy named, I forgot his name.
Yeah, exactly.
All right.
He just told me to be prepared, right? Like that's it. But yeah, like, it was kind of horrible what happened to Wentz. Like he was out there in agony, and Kirk Herbstreit's basically criticizing him, saying, "Stop being a baby." I'm like, Kirk Herbstreit, the grown-ass man who gets on TV and cries over his 6 million dogs when one of them passes away, is going to talk smack about a dude who's torn every ligament in his shoulder and is still playing football? You've got to be kidding me, dude. Like, my goodness. That's my rant on Kirk Herbstreit.
Yeah.
All right. The Chicago Bears are 5-3 after a goofy win this week against the Bengals. It seems like that's the only way the Bears win games.
How does Caleb Williams have 40 fantasy points almost, and nothing goes to Roma Dunze?
Maybe Roma Dunze's a bum.
To be fair, Dunze did drop not a good pass, but a catchable pass in the end zone.
Yeah,
so maybe Roma Dunze's a bum.
I don't think he's a bum. I think Roma Dunze is pretty good.
I think he had a bad game.
Yes.
I think he's overall.
Who has a bad game against the Bengals defense?
Apparently Roma Tunze does.
Olamide Zaccheaus had a good game against the Bengals defense.
He's not good against anybody.
Yeah.
My goodness. Maybe
DJ Moore almost had a good game.
Maybe he was.
It's like third good game
Maybe
ever.
the Bengals just focused all of their attention on Dunze.
Maybe Dunze was sad about Tiger Terror going away, and he saw the Bengals uniforms and it traumatized
Colston
him.
Loveland had a great game.
Yes, he did. Finally.
So,
All right, let's move on to the NFC South quickly because the Bucs are going to win this division. Right? Come on. The Saints and the Falcons cross-offs.
Yeah, Saints are
Way done.
We can forget about the Saints. The Falcons
They're 3-5.
the Falcons are an interesting team, but yeah, I don't see them
how
pulling it out.
did the Falcons beat the Bills and then lose to the Dolphins?
But then
Somebody
almost,
please
but then,
explain
but then
that to
almost
me.
beat the Patriots.
And then lost 30-0.
That's why I say they're an
Yeah.
interesting team, because it feels like they can beat almost anybody, but they
got a
also
good
can't get out of their
defense.
own way.
Yeah.
And a lot of it is their defense, and a lot of it is Bijan Robinson. Drake London has been excellent this year too.
Yeah.
Kyle Pitts has been solid.
That's different, yeah.
Like they've actually been an okay offense with Michael Penix. He hasn't been terrible. He's been pretty good. So they're an interesting team that's frisky, can definitely make some things happen, but they're not consistent enough for me to say that they have a chance. And then the Panthers, as much as I would love to see them do well, and their run game is fun. Hubbard was great early in the season, then he gets hurt. Rico Dowdle comes
went
in
nuts.
and went nuts. He had like 2 straight 200-yard rushing games. Like, he's insane. And then he had another really good game this past week. So, like, they're another team that's decent, but they're not consistent enough in the pass game. Like, you've got Tedero McMillan, who's insanely talented, but it feels like he does all of his work in the first half and then doesn't even get targeted in the second half. I can't make heads or tails of what's going on there, and their defense isn't good enough for them to win a lot of games. They've pulled out a couple of weird wins, but then they've also lost some games that I felt were winnable. So yeah, this is the Bucs division, even with the injuries to the wide receiver core and the defense being a little bit inconsistent week to week. It's been overall pretty good, but yeah.
So both Panther teams, the Jaguars and the Panthers, the actual Panthers, are fake news.
Yeah.
Okay, I agree. And your Lions are real news because they're the real deal.
Yeah,
agree.
I think they are.
I agree too.
Yeah.
The Lions are good. So Bucks got this division hands down. I don't think anybody else is making the playoffs from this division, especially because the NFC West, AFC scratch them off. Even though they did win last night, they're 3-5.
They did.
They're the team that
No. The Cardinals lost to the Titans.
that did happen. Yes,
The Titans have one win.
and it's the Cardinals.
Yeah.
And the
Because-
Cardinals are also a team that's deliberately playing their backup quarterback because they like him better than their starter. Like Kyler Murray, Kyler Murray is ready to go. He was active in this game. He could have gone in. They said he was available, but they just didn't want to play him.
I mean,
That doesn't happen.
if that's the case,
Call of
then
Duty
why,
comes out next
then
week,
why are
by
there
the
still
way.
headlines saying like Kyler Murray's still QB1? Like it sounds like Brissett
He's
should
not.
just be the
He's
starter
not. They
going
announced
forward.
they announced today that Brissett's going to start.
Oh, is it? Okay.
Yeah.
Well,
There's
there you
no
go.
such thing as a quarterback who is available to play and doesn't play that's also a good quarterback. Like if Drake May or Lamar Jackson can get on the field, so that nobody's gonna be like, oh well, no, we'd rather start the backup. No, that doesn't happen.
Maserati Marv looked really good. Amari DiMercado had a solid game. They're set to get Trey Benson back soon, so their running back situation is going to be a lot better at this point. Which
That's really cool.
Yeah.
We've also
That's
spent
great.
entirely too much time on the Cardinals.
Yeah, no, they're done. Get them out of here. Goodbye.
49ers are 6-3. Their team's entirely held together by Scotch tape, apparently. But they're winning games. They beat the Giants, who suck. But they lost to the Texans, who also kind of suck, but their defense is good. They're kind of a weird team, but Kyle Shanahan, to give him credit, like he's managing to coach this team to wins with Mac Jones, who, again, Mac Jones, we give him a lot of credit for how well he's played. He's also playing hurt. Like, he's dealing with the bum ankle. Who knows when the hell Brock Purdy's ever going to play again? They keep saying Brock Purdy's coming back this week, and then he doesn't. And then Mac Jones goes out there and plays a pretty good game.
Shanahan is maybe the one coach that I would say might have a better scheme for the passing game than Kevin O'Connell. He's the only guy that I would put in that same tier.
No, I agree.
Because he can make it work with anybody. We've seen him do it with Jimmy Garoppolo.
Oh.
We're seeing him do it now with Mac Jones.
Yeah.
It makes you wonder what
Got
would Brock Purdy
paid.
be if he was somewhere else.
He'd be
Maybe
Mr.
he is-
Irrelevant.
Maybe he is largely a product of this scheme. You know, we're seeing them do Christian McCaffrey has been healthy this year. He's getting a lot of, I mean, he's been playing great despite his longest run of the season being only 16 yards. He's like top 5 in rushing yards this year.
We don't get bonuses for long runs in our league. I don't care.
I have him in the league that does get bonuses.
He's been fantastic.
You still love him, don't you?
You know, their wide receiver core is starting to get healthy. You got Jawan Jennings, who's back now from injury. Ricky Pearsall is expected to be back, if not this week, then next week. Their defense has been solid. It's a good team.
How has their defense been solid with no Fred Warner and now no Joey Bosa?
Nick Bosa.
I don't know. I don't know, but they've been
Nick Bosa
solid.
either.
This
Robert
is
Saleh?
another team that feels in a lot of ways like fake news, but not nearly to the extent of the Panthers or the
I just
Jaguars.
feel like as long as they've got Robert Saleh as their defensive coordinator and they've got Kyle Shanahan as their head coach and pseudo offensive coordinator, they're going to win games.
There are some coaches that are just meant to be coordinators. Brian Flores is one of them. Robert Saleh is one of them, I think.
Yeah. All right, so let's talk about the two teams at the top of the division, the LA Rams and the Seattle Seahawks, who are both tied at 6-2. These two teams have not met this year yet.
No.
So
So there's going to
That'll
be
be
some
fun.
fireworks when they do.
So both teams kind of have their two losses are kind of dumb losses. Like Seattle had the week 1 loss from the side game against the 49ers, and they also lost in that barn burner against the Bucks, the 38-35 game. So that's like
And one of the great uniform
No,
matchups of
yeah,
all
no,
time.
no shame in that.
yes, great uniform matchup. And then the Rams gave away the Eagles game and gave away the 49ers game, and then other than that are 6-0. So like this is a hell of a showdown here in this division. Point differential wise, plus 81 for the Seahawks, plus 82 for the Rams.
Oh.
So we are talking about very evenly matched teams on paper so far. Who do you favor the rest of the way? Because they got 9 games apiece left.
I think I have to go with the Rams. I just think they're a more balanced team. Offensively, both teams have a lot of weapons, but you've got Kyron Williams, who I think is better than Kenneth Walker. I think Blake Corum has been at least as good as Zach Charbonnet so far this year. Corum has actually looked pretty decent. You've got, the combination of Puka Nacua, who seems to be healthy. It's expected that the injury he suffered this past week is likely not going to actually cost him any time, which is huge for the Rams. And Devontae Adams has been excellent for them. I think that the two of them are better than JSN and whoever you're going to put as the number 2 receiver right now in Seattle. And defensively, I feel like the Rams have a leg up. I think the Rams have the better defense of the two right now. Seahawks defense has looked good, but I think the Rams defense has looked a little bit better.
I agree with you, Corey. I also don't trust Sam Darnold. I just can't. Right? It's like, yeah, he played great in Minnesota for most of the year.
He's played well this year in Seattle.
And he played well this year too, but
he's
then
played
well.
At this point, Sam Darnold, I'm willing to say at this point with confidence that he was not a product of Kevin O'Connell's system. He played very well in it. I'm sure he benefited in some way from it, but he's not good because of Kevin O'Connell, because he's been just as good this year as he was last year in Minnesota.
I agree with all that. I'm leaning Seahawks here. I think they've got more athletes on their defense. They may not have, we could talk about the quality of the defense and things like that.
Witherspoon.
Yeah, Witherspoon's great. They've got a strong secondary. They've been a little banged up in the early part of the year, but they're getting healthy. And I love Mike McDonald. Ravens fans still cry over Mike McDonald not being their head coach, even though he should be. So, and you know why, because he's good at what he does, and that Seahawks defense is nasty. Again, it could go either way. This is a really tough one. Both teams are going to the playoffs, no question in my mind. And I think both of these teams have legitimate Super Bowl aspirations. They're that good. I think that I would say both of these teams. These are the two best teams in the NFC, as far as I'm concerned. I firmly believe that. I think they played better than the Packers have. They played better than the Bucks have. They played better than the Eagles have.
You think they're both better than the Lions?
I mean, you boys keep losing games. You are what your record says.
We're not losing to bad teams.
Okay, but you still have.
But if you're the best team, you're not going to lose to teams that are worse than you.
The Lions have been a little bit uneven this year.
A little shaky.
That's all I'm going to say. Now, again, I haven't lost faith. I still have stock in the Lions. I think the Lions are going to win the North. I'll say that much. I think they're going to win the North. But
instead of who?
Instead of the Packers, who are ahead of them.
Really?
Yes.
Yeah, because of that tie.
We just did this.
I don't think the Packers are division champion material if they keep losing to the Panthers and the Browns. And the Browns.
And tying the Cowboys.
And tying the Cowboys, who are terrible, too.
That did happen.
I think you can make the argument. I still think that the Lions are at least on the same level as both those teams. But that aside, I'm going to go with the Rams defensive coaching at least. I'm going to go with Don Shula's nephew, who's their defensive coordinator.
Oh,
over whoever the dude is for the Seahawks. Was it Abbott or something like that?
Well, I don't know who that is, but I'm not going to assume the Nepo babies
necessarily. Aiden Durday or Aiden Durd, something.
Maybe that guy's awesome. Hey, you don't know.
Could be.
Mike McDonald is awesome, and we didn't know who he was until he revealed himself to be awesome. So, but anyway, that does it for football talk. We'll be back next week with more of that. And we're kind of coming up on time. We did have one more topic, but we can push that because we already pushed that 2 weeks anyway.
And apparently they're still making arrests as a result
and it's
of
an ongoing investigation.
Gambling thing.
We were going to discuss the widespread gambling issues that hits multiple areas, not just on the court performance, but also illegal poker games involving high-profile NBA people. But we could save that for another time as we get more information because it sounds like the story is just getting juicier and juicier. So before we get out of here, fellas, shout-outs. What do we got?
I mean, shout out Six Flags America, closed forever on Sunday. Some people were saying it was kind of a sad vibe in there, which is true, but honestly, I thought it was kind of sad in there all the time, and it was pretty lively on Sunday. So, It's unfortunate that the park has to close and there's a lot of people going to lose their job and whatnot. But it's thanks for the memories, and we'll see what happens.
Even if they weren't so great, or whatever the Fall Out Boy lyric is. Yeah.
I don't know.
Even if they weren't so great.
So to add to that,
Where were you on Sunday? You said you might going to roll through.
Well, I didn't roll through. I watched football instead.
I was driving from Tennessee. Where's Eric?
Oh, I wasn't there.
Oh, okay.
Didn't make it. It's like when people expect to see me in glass. I'm like, I'm not gonna be. But yeah, to add to that, like I went to Six Flags a lot as a kid, and it was fun for a kid.
Yeah.
And it was the only local park we had, right? Like
Yep.
Going to Kings Dominion was not an option when you were a kid because you can't drive yourself.
I remember when it was Adventure World.
Yes, I remember when it was Adventure World as well. And, if that park wasn't at least fun for me as a kid, I wouldn't be into riding roller coasters. I wouldn't be going on these crazy trips. Where Evan and I are going to Orlando next week to ride more roller coasters. I wouldn't be doing stuff like that if I didn't have a good time at Six Flags. So it wasn't a great park, but it was good enough for the locals. And I think that it does. Like, I'm not sad that it's gone because I don't go there anymore. And the last time I was there, I needed to go get a beer immediately after because it was just a miserable experience. But I will always appreciate the good times I did have at that park.
Yeah.
Corey?
Shout out to you, Eric, and Scott Sicko for a great job throughout the DeMatha football season. DeMatha went undefeated in the regular season for football. We have a bye week this week while the rest of the WCAC wraps up their regular season schedule, and then we'll play whoever the number 4 seed is in the first round of the playoffs the week after. So that should be exciting. Unfortunately, we don't get to broadcast the playoff games because those are league owned games, and they usually go with First Amendment Sports for them. But it was a fun season.
Why don't y'all get to do the games?
Because it's playoffs, and the WCAC controls the gate. They want their money.
Ooh.
I don't know.
I mean,
Anyway, moving on. Basketball season is around the corner. December 9th will be our first home game, so I'm looking forward to calling that along with Neil Murphy. Shout out to my cross-country guys who came through for DeMatha's open house this past week at the cross-country table to talk to prospective 6th, 7th, and 8th graders who were coming in and just get information about the school and about our program. And it was a rough year for us as a team. We got one more meet this weekend or this Thursday, but we had a lot of issues that had to be dealt with this season, but I'm looking forward to getting back on the horse and preparing through the off season to hopefully make some noise next fall.
Alrighty. Well, my shout out is similar to Corey. Shout out to you, Corey, and to Scott Sicko and to Jordan Gill and everybody on the DeMatha broadcasting team that allowed me to once again do the play-by-play work. This is the first year that I've been able to do all of the games. I made sure to keep my schedule clear so that I could do all 5. And, it was a great time. I thought I did okay this year. Like
I thought you did great this year.
Yeah.
I thought this was definitely a step up.
Yeah, because it was just it was, sort of getting into a rhythm and things like that. And, in and out, like Corey was available sometimes, but oftentimes running around or sick or whatever. And nobody else missed a beat. Like the crew you guys had were excellent.
Oh, yeah. The kids that signed up for pretty much all games, Diego Aguian and Patrick Moran, I think, did every game or at least 4 of the 5.
Diego was there for all 5. Yeah.
They were excellent. And by the end, like Diego's kind of leadership and communication to kind of keep things running was phenomenal.
Yeah, he was great. The whole crew was great, and and shout out to DeMatha obviously for. I really appreciated them smoking Gonzaga, not only because
we needed that,
because we needed that we needed to roll somebody because we've been playing a little bit, but it also gave me some time with like 3 minutes left. It's like, okay, I have a window here to actually shout everybody out here. We're not locked into a tight going to overtime game where the focus is on the action. I can, if I miss a couple of calls on some handoffs from the backups, it's going to be no big deal. So it was nice to be able to do that on the air. And, I was a little sad that the season was over. I was like, I'm going to miss it. I'm going to wait 10 months till we get to call another game. So thank you guys for, again, letting me do that. And I appreciate it. And I hope that I can continue to do so, and I will be available for other broadcast opportunities if you need a fill-in Frank for those roles. But, so again, thank you guys for tuning in. You can get this show on Spotify, Apple. You can watch it on YouTube, and if we are not on a podcatcher of your choice, let us know, and we will do our best to accommodate you. You can let us know by emailing us at thesportsballers.com. And also you can follow on Twitter. Corey, you made a face. What's up?
I didn't make a face.
Oh, okay. I thought you made a face. You can follow us on Twitter at SportsBallers18. You can follow us individually at Corey Puffett, at Evan_Ash13, and at Quagmire67. Thank you guys again for tuning in. We'll be back with some Week 10 action next week. Maybe a little bit. We'll actually get to this NBA scandal, and maybe we'll learn a little bit more. And maybe you'll learn a little bit more, and we'll have a good time making fun of some criminals. But until then, take it easy.